The Manhattan. Hey, Cypher here. I've got another episode of a cocktail that made history. This time, the Manhattan. So the Manhattan goes back to the 1860s, but wasn't called the Manhattan for a long time. We don't really know when it started being called the Manhattan, but it was being called that by at least the 1920s. It became really popular during Prohibition. And that's mostly because you can dilute whiskey this way, so it doesn't take as much whiskey to make this cocktail as just drinking whiskey straight. And obviously during Prohibition, that would be a good thing so that you didn't have to buy more of that expensive, illegal whiskey. Plus whiskey was just hard to come by, so you just wanted to eliminate having to use as much of it as possible, even though you still wanted that great whiskey taste. It also changed ingredients over time, so that there would be less and less whiskey, and then after Prohibition, it got more and more whiskey into the cocktail until we have what it is today. Originally, it was made with American rye whiskey, but over time, that became infeasible thanks to, well, Prohibition. Then, you started having it come as Canadian whiskey. Now, the reason why I'm using this particular kind of Canadian whiskey, which is called Spice Box, is because they are fully trying to incorporate that heritage. You see, people used to smuggle Canadian whiskey into the United States by hiding it in different places, and one of those places was in spice boxes, hence the name. This stuff is pretty awesome, by the way, because it's been infused with vanilla, so it tastes almost like marshmallows. So the main ingredients are 3 parts whiskey, 1 part vermouth, and a dash or 2 of bitters. The interesting thing about this particular whiskey is that it represents a drastic change that was happening in the whiskey market because of Prohibition. So this whiskey represents a drastic change that was happening in the American whiskey market at the time. You see, at that point in time, it was getting harder and harder to get a hold of American whiskey, which was rye whiskey, and that was the main type of American whiskey. So people started moving on to Canadian whiskey for their rye needs and started going to what used to be considered kind of bad whiskey, bourbon. It was considered cheap, but after Prohibition, that was the stuff that everybody went to. So all of a sudden, things that were considered low-class whiskey were considered the main American whiskey after Prohibition, most likely because it was easier to make. And Canadian whiskey filled in the void. For instance, this Spice Box actually says that it's made out of rye. For a long time, it was really hard to get a hold of actual rye whiskey, and it's coming back in popularity recently. So the next part of the cocktail is 1 part vermouth, specifically sweet vermouth. And then a dash of bitters. I prefer to have mine chilled, so I'm going to add some ice. And then you just shake it up. And pour it out. And then you garnish with a cherry, preferably with the stem off. And that is Manhattan. It represents the change that happened during Prohibition in terms of the whiskey market and how drastically we all moved on to bourbon as opposed to rye. Cheers. So, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Actually, I have so little in here that I'm just gonna make a shot. Turns out I don't have enough in that one bottle to make a full batch, and I can't recommend this whiskey enough. It's absolutely delicious. Ooh. Jesus.